Hello, everybody. Welcome to MORE-VILLE, ORVILLE, the podcast that reviews every single episode of the ORVILLE. I'm your co-host, Michael, and I'm joined by G.I. Jolie.
That's me. Hello.
And, of course, Champion.
Hello. How you guys doing today?
Awesome.
Pretty good.
How about you, Champion?
I am also pretty good. And hopefully our listeners are noticing that I'm not sounding quite so, I don't know, like I'm on a telephone this time.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, as we've been doing this podcast, Mike L. and G.I. Jolie have done this sort of thing before. So they have what is known in industry terms as equipment. Whereas I was just sort of deputized for this, and I have been essentially talking into a phone balanced precariously on top of a roll of paper towels, acting as a noise-canceling device.
Hey.
Which, if I sound exactly the same, it's because the new system doesn't work. I'm recording on the phone as well, just as a backup. But I have a microphone now. It's on a stand. It's very, very fancy. I haven't invested in a pop filter yet. Somebody told me that was important. I have to figure out what that is before I go and buy one.
Oh, a pop filter. That's what this is. See? See this?
We can't see you.
Oh, you can't see me? How come?
No.
Well, I can see you.
Oh,
I can see, but the listeners can't.
Oh.
Oh, that black disc.
Yeah, it's a black disc with like a piece of fabric, and basically it's for when you're talking to a mic, so it, the compression of air that's created by the P sound in the English language.
Oh, really?
It filters it out, yeah.
Oh, well, listeners, if you're starting podcasts of your own about the ORVILLE, now you have a little bit of insider information.
Right? We've given you all of our secrets.
Now they're going to become more successful than we are. Anyway. Okay, so this episode we are talking about Sanctuary. And Champion is Mr. Memory, and he's going to tell everybody what this episode is about.
This episode is about Sanctuary. Now, it starts off in the wake of the Kalon attack on the planet Earth, and Admiral Halsey tells the staff of the ORVILLE that they've made some arrangements with the planet Moclan to upgrade a lot of the weapons on the ORVILLE. So they're headed to Moclan, and while they're on their way, they are transporting a couple of Moclans to rendezvous with another vessel. So they board, and they're carrying some stuff with them, and they go to their quarters, and everything seems fine. But as they get to their room, the door closes behind them, and they have a little private conversation where it's revealed to us that something is up. They've smuggled something aboard. We don't know what it is. But they seem confident that they're out of the woods. They haven't checked on what's in our little package here. So, interesting. We don't know what's going on here. Now, we flash to a schoolroom. The teacher, Counselor Troy, is presiding over a class of, I'd say, 4th or 5th graders. Among them is Topa, who is Boris and Clyden's son. And he gets into a fight with a girl over some Legos. And there's a bit of an altercation. I think he gives her a shove. And Counselor Troy informs Boris and Clyden that Topa has been resistant to cooperating with females. So, this creates a bit of friction between Boris and Clyden, because Boris is still a little bit salty with the fact that they've got a son and not a daughter. Clyden is, it's revealed by Boris that Clyden has never been happy on the ORVILLE because he doesn't like being around women. And there's a little bit of friction between the two of them. Now, a little bit later on, there is a little warning on the bridge that there's some unauthorized power usage coming from their quarters, the Moclan guests. So they send Boris down to investigate what's going on. They give him some sort of half-ass excuse about his food not being spicy enough, and he had to adjust the replicator, and it's taking a lot more power to, I don't know, replicate his favorite hot sauce. But Bortus isn't buying it, and right there in plain sight is some sort of power converting thing attached to their little suitcase. And they open it up at Bortus's insistence, and they find that it is a Moclan child. Now, this Moclan child is their daughter, and they are taking, presumably, this child to Retepsia, planet Retepsia, to live as a female because they don't want her to undergo the reassignment surgery. And Bortus, having gone through something similar himself quite recently, he keeps their secret and fabricates a story, and the rest of the bridge crew, they buy it, and they depart, meet up with this other ship. Oh, sorry. At some point before this, Bortus brings Topa to see this young girl, Moclan, because he wants to try and give him a sense that, yes, there is more than just males out there. Like, this is a person. This is someone who's not that much different than you. So they depart with their child, and they rendezvous with the ship, and the ORVILLE continues on its way to Moclan. But Topa, being a little kid, doesn't keep his mouth shut, obviously. And Bortus is brought to the captain's ready room, where the rest of the senior staff is there to chastise them. Yes, we understand that you think that you're doing the right thing, but now you sort of involved everyone else on the ORVILLE in this little problem. So they have to chase down this ship, and they end up finding it. It's not going towards Retepsia after all, but a planet hidden in a nebula. And this planet is inhabited entirely by Moclan females.
Ooh.
Now, it turns out that this is a planet of sanctuary for Moclan females, and there's an underground network that essentially assures safe passage for female infants, and they get raised on this planet. They go visit this planet, and they run across their old friend Havina, who is the author, the female author that we met in an earlier episode, and she's kind of in charge of the whole thing. There is a little bit of what happens here? Is this the part where I'm sorry, I'm just having a little bit of a brain fart, where the Moclans learn about this planet and they get incensed, and they have to convene some sort of an emergency meeting where they try to give this colony independent status, because it sounds as though the Moclans want to capture everyone who's on the planet and have them, quote-unquote, punished for their crimes.
Yes.
So they convene this emergency meeting, and they bring Havina to Earth, I think. Yes. And Havina is given a library of basically art and culture that's been created by human women. And she latches upon Dolly Parton as her hero, and she says, after listening to 9 to 5, this is the voice of our revolution. Then they convene this council, and when Havina is allowed to speak in front of the council, the Moclan delegates they lose their minds. There is a some military stress there. A Moclan ship arrives. There's a firefight between the ORVILLE and the Moclan ship, and they send troops down to the sanctuary planet in order to round people up, even though there hasn't been a resolution yet. Now, in the 11th hour, Admiral Halsey suggests that the Union will not recognize the colony, and that they will stop their convoys ferrying female children out of Moclan, as long as the Moclans agree to just kind of let them be. And that seems to make everybody happy. there's some subplot there with the Moclans being the Union's only source of high power weaponry, and they need that alliance to fight the Kalon. So Mercer is sort of accusing the Union of talking out of both sides of its mouth by kind of ignoring what is sort of a barbaric practice by the Moclans in order to maintain their alliance. But at the end of the day, Admiral Halsey's compromise makes everyone happy, and that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I thought it was a very realistic resolution. Like, when I say realistic, I mean, the good guys didn't win, really. It was a compromise, and I thought that's what made this episode really interesting, Despite, like you said, despite what Mercer was saying in this meeting, in the end, he had to compromise as well. There's nothing they could do about it, right? And then also, the good thing about this is that this creates a possibility for them to revisit this situation in the future, and maybe they'll get another episode out of it. So I thought this episode was really good. Apparently, this was more critically acclaimed than popular with fans, and it's the lowest rated ratings wise. It's the lowest rated episode of the entire series.
Really?
I wonder if it's because it was directed by Jonathan Frakes.
You think
Why?
that people just don't like Will Riker, and they're like, you know what, we're just not gonna watch it?
What do you mean, Jolie?
Well, you said it was critically acclaimed,
Okay.
right? Did
Yeah,
you not just say
yeah,
that? It was
yeah.
like, maybe because it was directed by Jonathan Frakes.
Oh, okay. Well, we thought you were saying it was low rated because it was directed by Jonathan Frakes.
No, I'm honestly
yeah,
surprised that it was low rated because
Yeah.
it is Jonathan Frakes
Uh-huh.
and his wonderful girl pal
Right. Yes.
is in it, makes a cameo as, Deanna Troy.
Although it took me like a minute to be sure that it was her. At first, I was like, she looks an awful lot like Marina Sirtis. But I think what threw me off is that she was basically acting like she was talking like Marina Sirtis. She wasn't talking like Counselor Troy. It's like the character of Counselor Troy became how I viewed that actor, and then to see her sort of talking more like herself, it's like, who is this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And her hair wasn't as curly, but it was still voluminous.
I think she wore extensions when she was Deanna Troy, right? Didn't she?
Oh,
pretty
it
sure.
probably was a wig. Or
Yeah, just a wig.
who
you're right.
who knows? It was the 80s. It could have been an actual perm with extensions underneath.
Yeah, it was gigantic. But anyway, it was really nice to see her, right? I mean, I thought that was cool. She's one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, it's where she hides all her empathy. But yeah, I love her. I wish there was more of her than just a school teacher, maybe?
Right. I mean, I don't remember. I don't think she hasn't come back yet, but I hope this is a regular role for her. Why not, right?
Yeah.
Get Gates McFadden in there too while you're at it. She doesn't get enough love. But no, I don't know. I mean, I did like the premise of this episode. Not a masterpiece, but I like the way it's sort of slowly built from the mystery, and then tying back to plots introduced earlier in the season. So I thought this was definitely a good one, and I like I said, I like the compromise at the end. I guess the only thing I didn't like was, once again, the over-reliance on 21st or 20th century pop culture with the whole Dolly Parton thing. I mean, yes, it's kind of funny, but at this point, the show is sort of evolving a little bit away from that, so I was kind of surprised they went with that. What'd you guys think of that?
I agree. I didn't have any problem with them landing on Dolly Parton as being the sort of the voice of this revolution, but I didn't care for how they arrived on it. Right, like, hey, here you go. Here's the entire list of art and culture created by human women over the ages, and 10 seconds in, she hits play on 9 to 5, and 10 seconds later, she's like, "Okay, I'm sold on this person and this song."
Right.
Like, It would have been more realistic to me if there was at least a scene in between, right, where she's going through things at first, and then we cut to something else, and we cut back. It's like, I've found something that really, really resonates with me, and we all wait expectantly to see what it is, and then she hits play, and it's like 9 to 5. That would have been funny.
Yeah. I agree with Ian. It kind of seemed a little too easily handed to Havina for it to seem possible. Like, I can see how you would get attached to a song or that song immediately upon hearing it, especially if you have never heard country music or Dolly Parton's voice or English language lyrics.
Well, the thing is it's one of those things where, on one hand, the show is becoming more and more serious and more dramatic. But when something this farcical happens, you can forgive it in a comedy, but in a drama, you can't. And so that's where it kind of skates the line, where you're kind of like, okay, am I supposed to take this seriously or am I not? Because this is, like Ian said, it's ridiculous. Within 10 seconds, she finds it. Within another 10, she has, the manifesto for her revolution. So it's kind of hard to take it seriously.
Yeah, and this, just getting back to the whole point of this being so critically acclaimed, too, is that I was just reading a tiny tidbit about this, and they use it in, like, feminist pop culture study, academically. Specifically, this episode, they talk about it.
Right.
And that's why it's become so important. But it's like, okay, so which parts do you use? I can see which parts you actually do use. Like, those are very apparent. But it's like, do you talk about Kelly and Bordis shooting up a bunch of Moclans over the soundtrack, like over a Dolly Parton soundtrack? Is that part of your feminist theory too?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
that was a little jarring.
Yeah. I don't like how she found it or landed on it. I like that it becomes her manifesto or the manifesto of Havina, and then sort of like a battle cry. But then to have it play over like a montage of them shooting Moclans, or like a Moclan versus Kelly and Bordis battle, was like even too campy for me, if that's a thing.
Well,
the 9 to 5 quote during the council meeting as well sort of it irritated me a little bit too. Like, I think that they should have gone a little bit deeper and maybe found a briefer quote also from Dolly Parton that was a little bit more aligned with what she was trying to say.
Sure.
Something that maybe we wouldn't all have gotten, but Dolly Parton fans, it would have nodded a wink to them, give them something special.
Yeah, it's almost like they arbitrarily picked a part in the song that is just, it's familiar because it's at the beginning of the song.
Yeah, you're right. Good
yeah,
point.
They picked it because we know it, not because it means anything to them.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the lyrics now, or there isn't a part of the song that
suits.
Yeah, that suits their needs.
Mm-hmm.
That one suited it enough.
Well, anyway, I like the political allegory as usual, so I definitely like that. But like every episode of the Orville, this episode also had some jokes. Would you guys like to hear some of them?
Well, yeah.
Let's hear them.
Okay, sure. All right, guys, it's joke time. Do we have any joke music? No, eh? Okay, here we go,
Not
folks.
really, no.
Okay, can you hear me? Ready? Here
Dance hall
we
horn?
go.
Bow, 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 bow.
She speaks with the might of 100 soldiers.
Yeah, I guess she does.
This is the voice of our revolution.
Well, there's actually a whole bunch of stuff in there. Okay.
So that was pretty good, yeah. I mean, again, ridiculous, but they save it, right? With the delivery of the actress there.
Yeah.
And I think Ed's line there, there's a lot of other stuff that helps it along too, right? And that sort of softens some of these criticisms.
Right. At least with the characters notice it helps, right? Okay, I think we got one more here, maybe two more. Let's see.
You tell her to hold tight. The Orville will take no provocative action that can escalate the situation. But sir, that being said, communications can be spotty inside a nebula. Your message may not get through. What are you talking about? Of course it'll get through. We just got a new communications array as a part. Right. Yes. Sorry.
Do you guys remember that part?
Yeah.
It was when, Mercer didn't catch on that the Admiral was trying to get him, basically saying, you can't do it, but you can. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and Mercer wasn't catching on. Anyway, there wasn't that many laughs this episode, but that was one of the better ones for sure.
Yeah, that was decent. I like that bit because it's sort of a trope in these sort of
Right.
shows where you have the person who commands like you can't do it, but you kind of can, and they
Right.
get it right away. Right, the
Of
fact that
course.
it took them a while.
I love it. Right. I love that Mercer is kind of incompetent sometimes. I think it's great. So yeah, I don't know. Were there any other criticisms of this episode? Like, go ahead, Julie.
No, but I think it's kind of funny. Like, is the sanctuary on Retepsia, or that was just a cover?
That was just a cover.
Okay, because I was like, could you imagine if the sanctuary was on Retepsia? So there's just a bunch of Retepsian / Moclan breeds running around the planetary. Yeah, that would be so strange and weird. Remember what?
Wait, the Retepsians those are the blue people, aren't they?
Yeah, like Derulio. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it would just be. Could you imagine just a planet full of pheromones
Right.
and Moclan women? They would birth a whole new species there.
It was actually. Go ahead.
Nothing.
I was gonna say it was actually pretty good. They had a lot of alien races on display in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys noticed that there is an alien that looks suspiciously like Squidhead from Star Wars? You know what I'm talking about? He's
Squid-
an
is that
alien. Yeah.
Kit Fisto?
No. This is a different guy. Squidhead is from. If you Google Squid, I think his name's Squidhead. Star Wars Squidhead. You'll see what I mean.
Oh, he kind of looks like
Oh, the guy with the head that looks exactly like a squid.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Yeah.
makes total sense.
Oh, but you know what? I just realized I'm mixing Squidhead up with a different Star Wars alien. Oh, am I thinking of geez, what is his name? It might be it's not Klaatu Wolf, is it? Anyway, we're losing our street cred here, guys.
We're supposed to be
talking.
nerds.
There is an alien in Star Wars that has like kind of like things that go up on the side and the eyes are on like the tentacles, and he's from the original trilogy, and there's an alien in Orville that looks just like that, but for the life of me I can't remember what this guy's. Oh, I know, it's Reese. That's what it is.
What?
Yes, his name is Reese.
Could you spell that for us?
It's REE-YEES. Reese.
Oh yes. The guy that looks like a sheep, like a sheep head with eyes that jut out really fast.
Right.
Yeah, he has
3
little.
eyes.
He's got little sheep ears. They're so cute.
Right. so anyway,
I never made that connection. I remember you like years and years, decades ago, just screaming "Reese." Like, what the
Yes.
hell are you talking about?
Yes.
I had
We used
no
to-
idea.
Yeah, Alex Zeleny and I and Mike Nicolika, we always used to, I don't know, it was just, of all the names in Star Wars, that was probably the most ridiculous, you know? Reese. Anyway.
Oh, speaking of names, though, there is one thing about this episode and about the show in general that I find just a little bit distracting. And if anyone is as hardcore a Star Trek fan, Next Generation, as I am, you might find it distracting too. The fact that Bortus and Clyden's son is named Topa.
Oh, you
Excuse
mean
me.
like the incompetent Topa from Star Trek Next Generation?
From the Next Generation, the episode The Chase, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the fact that they're essentially an analog on the Orville to the Klingons, and they named their kid after a Klingon slur.
Yes.
Whenever they say his name, I think, you incompetent Topa, you were supposed to be prepared.
Wow, I think that's on purpose. I can't believe we haven't mentioned that before. But to be honest, now that you're saying it, I'm only remembering it now.
Well, it took me until this episode for me to put 2 and 2 together, right? Like it was always in the back of my head, like, why does that name sound familiar? Oh, because that Klingon captain yelled it at his incompetent Topa of an engineer.
Guess what, guys? People have noticed this, and they've created a meme. It's not a great meme, but I can send it to you. Unfortunately, our listeners cannot see this meme unless we post it somewhere. But
like our Facebook page or website.
Yeah, if only we
Wait,
had
there's
one.
a website?
But yeah. So yeah, we'll post that somewhere anyway. So I guess that's all we can really say about this episode. We all enjoyed it, right? I don't think it was a masterpiece, but I think we all enjoyed it, right? Good premise.
It's a good premise, and it's it's a continuation of the Orville getting a little bit more serious.
Right.
Oh, did you guys notice how serious? Jesus, we haven't talked about him in so long. I'm forgetting his name. Scott Grimes.
Oh, Lieutenant Malloy.
Malloy, yes, like how serious he's been getting lately. He didn't do anything funny in this episode, and he instead was on the bridge like, I have an idea. If we fly into the nebula, it'll jam their sensors, and just spouting technobabble. And I don't know, it's like they're trying to make him grow up like really quickly.
Yeah, and that's what makes me worry, because we've all seen the trailer for season 3, or not the trailer, but kind of like a preview, and it looks very dark and very serious. And I think we all are kind of hoping they don't go the, Star Trek Discovery route, to say the least.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe they are on purpose. Because if you've looked at what Discovery is doing, it has become lighter and cheerier and Star Trekier. Right. So I don't know that I don't hate it. I gotta watch the episode where Stacey Abrams is president of the Earth. God damn it. But yeah, maybe even if they turned it around, Seth MacFarlane. I trust him.
Yeah, I trust him too. I'm sure we're in safe hands.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny though if Orville season 3 just turned into this dark, dismal mess though, and we decide to stop watching it and do a Discovery podcast instead?
Blasphemy.
Yeah. No, we'll turn to Babylon 5. There you go. It'll be called MORE-VILLE Babylon 5. There you go. Nice little play on words.
Okay, working on a logo.
It's just Orville scratched out and Babylon 5 penciled in over top of it.
Yeah, that's something I've actually never watched. I've never seen Babylon 5. How about you guys?
I've seen a few episodes.
I think I saw one episode. I couldn't really get into it.
How was it, Jolie?
Might revisit it.
It was good. It's just super dated sci-fi though. Like visually, you kind of have to get around that. But we're watching dated sci-fi every day, so.
I remember like when I was in high school and I clicked on an episode of Babylon 5 and I just saw this cheap-looking actor in a cheap-looking makeup talking to a cheap-looking alien. And I just remember thinking, this is probably what the average person thinks Star Trek looks like, But to my eyes, I could see the difference, but maybe other people can't. I don't know. Not to say I'm great, but just when you're used to something, you can differentiate the difference in quality.
Yeah, I would rank it with like, you remember that Kevin Sorbo sort of Canadian sci-fi series Andromeda?
I remember it, never saw it.
To me, that's what it looked like. Mm-hmm. And like, even that was 2000, 2005.
And like the special effects were all in 480i. Like, I love that. Whatever. I would love to see a sci-fi show produced today that is filmed in like low quality video with low quality special effects, like Doctor Who, where there's absolutely no regard for production value, just good writing. But I don't think in today's climate that could ever survive. Well,
if you guys wanted to get started, I'm pretty sure Babylon 5 used the Commodore Amiga computer to do all of its rendering, all of its special effects, and I've got a couple of those in my basement, ready to go. I got a video toaster down there.
Whoa!
I have everything. I have everything we need to get started. So, Mike, you want to get a spec script ready?
100%. I'm in.
G.I. Joe Lee, comic book store owner and sci-fi effects engineer, specializing in Commodores only.
Right. Okay, well, guess what? On that note, I think we're going to wrap up this review of the Orville episode 24, Sanctuary. I want to thank Champion and G.I. Joe Lee for joining me.
You're welcome.
And I would like to thank Mike L. for having us both.
Ditto.
We review every episode of the Orville, and we're almost done season 2, and make sure you stick with us because we're going to be jumping to season 3 as soon as that starts. You can find every episode of our show on www.comicbooksyndicate.com, as well as every episode of our other shows, Here Comes the Spider-Cast, and Flea Market Fantasy, and Full Volume Podcast. So, until next week, there's more where that came from.